Hey guys, this is Wes and welcome to your 16th Java tutorial. Today we're going to cover the while loop, and this will be your first introduction to loops. So yeah, let's get to it. So we're going to delete this. I'm going to paste a multi-line comment of the syntax, it's pretty simple. Use the keyword while, then we do the parentheses and put a condition in here, and while it is true, it executes the code within the two curly brackets, and once it does that, it goes back up here and tests the condition again. It just loops around in a circle over and over until this condition right here is no longer true. So let's also turn that into a comment, get it out of our way. So we're going to start out, we're going to declare and initialize two variables to start out. The first one's going to be named counter. We're going to set it to 0. We're going to make another one, and we're going to name it my number, or my num, and it's going to also equal 0. Then we're going to get into the loop. So while, which is the keyword, and then we are going to say counter is equal to 0. Make sure you do the double equal sign because we're testing to see while counter is holding the value 0 while it is in fact 0. While counter equals 0, and use the two curly brackets. While counter equals 0, we're going to say system.out.println, and we're just going to print out the variable my num. And then we are going to say my num plus plus. And we're going to run this. So let's save it. Run it. And if you look down here, it is just going and going and going, and this is something you're going to have to watch out for while doing loops. You're going to have to make a condition that can eventually be met, because as of right now, counter will forever equal 0, and while counter equals 0 and this condition is true, it goes inside the curly brackets and it runs the code within those brackets. Once that code is executed and finished, it doesn't go outside of the brackets. It goes back up to the while and it tests the condition again, and it continues to do so until counter no longer equals 0. And now we're at some astronomical number. Let's stop this. Yes, let's cancel it. So we got up to, in 52 seconds, we got up to 1.2 million. It counted up to, counting by 1 in 52 seconds. So in order to stop that from happening, we have to make a condition where counter, let's just print out 1 through 10. I'll show you how that works. While counter is less than 10, system.printout my number. We're just going to change these variables to counter, and we're going to say counter plus plus. And although in this case an infinite loop is considered a bad thing, there are reasons or situations where you would in fact want to use an infinite while loop. But since I'm just introducing you to the concept, we are not going to, besides down here, do anything infinite anymore. So let's run this and I'll show you how that works. 0 through 9. And as you know, or if you didn't already know, computers start at 0 and count to 1. If we wanted to do start at 1, we can do counter equals 1, file, save, run. 1 through 9, because it's less than 10. So if we did less than or equal to 10, file, save, run, it counted 1 through 10. So the way that works is we started our loop, our while loop. We have a condition, which the syntax for it is you need 2 parentheses and within it a task or a condition that you can be tested for. So while this is true, go inside of these 2 curly brackets and execute the code within here. And then once it does that, it goes back up here and tests it again. It continues to do that, and once it equals 10, it executes the code because counter is less than or equal to 0. And then less than or equal to 10. And once it equals 10, it executes it again, and we add 1 to counter, and it now equals 11, and then it goes outside of the loop. So if we had more code, like down here, system.out.println, we have left the loop. So let's run this, file, save, run. Counted 1 through 10, and it said we have left the loop. So I'm going to go over it like I usually do, which I already kind of have covered while like 3 times in this tutorial, but you know, repetition is key, so bear with me. While keyword, which is our while loop. This condition is true. Counter is less than or equal to 10. It prints out counter, which counter is in this case 1. It adds 1 to counter. If you've watched my previous tutorials back in one of the earlier videos, I showed you what this meant, and all this does is it means it adds 1 to the variable or the number that this 2 pluses are in front of. So it just adds 1 to counter. So counter is now 2. It goes back up to the while loop, and since counter is 2 is less than or equal to 10, it executes this code and it keeps doing that until it hits 11. Once it hits 11, it goes outside of the while loop, and then it starts executing code from there. And that's essentially all a while loop is. See, it counted 1 through 10, and then it says we have left the loop. And that's just another short introduction to while loops. The next video is actually going to be heavily based on while loops and nested if statements. So that's why I kind of lightly covered them in these 2 videos, because in the next video there's going to be nearly 100 lines of code to create our rock paper scissors game, and it's just essentially just going to be nested if statements and a while loop, so an infinite while loop. That's where we're actually going to see meaning or usefulness in an infinite loop. So yeah, that'll be it for this tutorial. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.